Looks like beautiful weather today, perfectly clear visibility. Let's go for a ride. Time to put a little time on the Cessna 310. Harvey. 80 psi is what we're looking for. Get that bead up and off the ground. There we go. That's more like it. Starting the pre-flight back here in the baggage compartment, get your fuel tester out. Make sure the control locks are in the baggage compartment, not on the airplane. Got your tow bar, got some spare oil, got something to clean the window with. And check that your oxygen is either on or off, depending on what you want to do for the mission there. So let's go ahead and turn the oxygen on today. Got a little squirt as the lines fill. And there you can read your pressure on the right gauge. Close to 1,000 psi. If you turn the oxygen on, you're going to want to remember to turn it off after the flight, as it will tend to leak slightly through the lines up in the cabin. Here's where you service the oxygen right here. Here's your boarding ladder that retracts with the landing gear. Right back here is one of your all-important static ports. Make sure that's free and clear. All your antennas are there, have not been knocked off. Vertical tail, horizontal tail, check for damage. And back here, let's see, let's go to 0.7, there we go. Back here, this horizontal tail, this design has a very heavy bob weight for pitch stability. And so if you go to pick up this horizontal stab, it's very heavy. Now here's a real important tip that Fire Pilot, the 310 guy, pointed out, where he was polishing on his stabilizer back here in the trim tab, and the polishing tool caught these nuts and busted them right off of there. He found some corrosion in the 4 bolts holding on the very important elevator trim tab. The elevator trim tab on this design is only on the right elevator, not on the left. Make sure the trim tab is out of here. Make sure the control lock is out of here, and the trim tab is, this one is mounted internally for the rudder trim tab. Static wicks, tail light, tail skid for damage. Wiggle things, make sure nothing's loose after all of these years. More antennas and lights down below. That's, I think, the old, one of the old pieces of avionics. I've never gotten rid of that fiberglass tub. There's nothing in there. Here's the other static port located right here. When you're back here, take a good look at the landing gear. You can see the strut extension and the tire pressure. Exhaust augmenters, look right up there for the exhaust pipes. No cracks here in the stainless steel. Ailerons. Aileron nuts and bolts, aileron trim tabs. Again, they're mounted mostly internally. You can check the nuts and bolts on there. Static wicks, tip tanks. Now it's time to start sampling some fuel. These are the famous tuna tanks, the tip tanks, 50 gallons each. These are the main fuel tanks on this model of Cessna 310. Now I checked the fuel with the master switch on and the fuel gauges, and now I'm physically checking it with my finger. It should be down just about that far from the top here. If you over service this, it will dribble right on out. Check that fuel cap for security. Okay, now down here, get our fuel sampler set up here. Right back here is where we drain the fuel tanks. Oh, nice, 100 octane. Now, make sure that thing stops dribbling after you sample the fuel. All right, come around here, leading edge, stall warning horn. Here's your auxiliary fuel tank. We're gonna check the fuel cap on that here in a second. Now we're gonna drain a little bit out of the aux tank. Today we're just running on the mains. These aux tanks are 15 gallons each. Explain more about the aux fuel system here later. Put your water trap collector back on your fuel tester. Turn that fuel, looks good, right back into the aux tank. Now check the aux caps on for security. 15 gallons. One more fuel sample down here, just prior to the engine. Looks good. Modern day 100 octane low lead can often look pretty clear. It's supposed to have a bit of a bluish tint to it. Now we'll dive into this panel here and check the oil quantity. Which is going to be located on this dipstick right here. Take a good look around here while you're in here. Here's your generator belt right there. Throttle body for your fuel injection system. Hoses. No leaks. No loose wires. Looks good at 11 quarts. Double check your oil filler cap is on properly. We can go right through this hatch right here. Make sure no birds have moved in. One of the benefits of having a hangar. And you're going to want to check your props. You've not been tearing them up out in the gravel. Landing gear, you're going to want to check for about that much travel on the strut right there. Tire pressure, proper inflation. Make sure these snap rings have not fallen out of place at the top of the strut up in here. It could be found laying down in there. Squat switches, hoses, lines, nuts, bolts. If there's any leaks out of the brakes, you see a little drop or a puddle right there, and you can also check your brake wear and the discs themselves. Nose gear doors up in the wheel well, nuts, bolts, interference, raccoons, a strut extension on the nose gear light, pitot tube, vents clear, nose gear wheel for proper inflation. Proper tire pressure in the nose gear helps prevent nose wheel shimmy. And the other side is the same as this side. With this hanger being so level, you can just manually pull the 310 out of the hanger. You'll need a little help getting it back in. One more quick look around the opposite direction. Make sure you got the tow bar off. Props are clear. Oil caps are on. Fuel caps are on. Fuel doors are all closed. Baggage doors are all closed. Keys are out of the baggage door compartment. Ask me how I know. And we're ready to board her up. Okay, getting into the 310. You can kind of slide over, get 1 foot over, slide over, and carefully get the other foot over without banging all the controls, and you're in.
Quick review of the before starting engines checklist. Pre-flight inspections done. Seats and seat belts are adjusted and locked. Flight controls have been checked for free and clear. Circuit breaker panel over here on my left has been checked. That's located right over here. Radios are off. Landing gear switch is down. Now let's go with the starting engines checklist. On this model, I go ahead and turn the battery and generators on at the same time. All 4 mags are on. Mixtures, all the controls here go full forward. Tanks are indicating full. Check the low fuel pump, electric fuel pump for operation here on the fuel pressure gauge. And then prime the engine about that much and then turn it off. Same thing on the right engine. Check it and prime it. Now bring the throttles back, crack them, and start the engines. Clear left. Okay. About 1,000 RPM. Check for oil pressures coming up. Oil pressure's up. And starting number 2. Clear. Just ease in the throttle until it finds the right mixture. Bring her back to 1,000 RPM. Check the oil pressure. Oil pressure coming up. Just starts so easily. Okay, I'm going to adjust the squelch on this a bit. Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Maybe we'll turn that squelch down when we get going so you can hear the dulcet tones of the IO 470s. All right, going through the starting engines checklist. Battery and generators are on. Landing lights checked down. Landing gear lights, that is, that green light right there. Fuel quantity is checked. They are full, and the tanks are on the main tanks. Brakes are tested. Mixtures full, rich, props, throttles, mag switches are on. We did the prime and start. Aux fuel pump to low. We'll leave it on low now. Oil pressure we checked. Check again. Vacuum we'll check. It's good there, and there's several, since you're in a twin-engine airplane, you've got several sources of vacuum. On the left engine, and over there on the right engine. We're ready for before taxi checklist. Flaps are up. Strobes are coming on. Radios. Brakes release. Let's go. Get her rolling. Double check those brakes. Check good. You might need those on this airplane. Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel North Ramp Taxi, runway 25. Look at that visibility today. Nobody coming. Clear left, clear right. We're going to go down here. We'll get the doors and windows in a bit. You got to just hang your elbow out here like you own the place as Sky King. We'll take her down here to the run-up area, warm it up, and run it up. Bring that mixture back on the ground here a bit. Slight winds out of the east. So a little bit of a tailwind takeoff, but we're going to be departing downhill on runway 25. So we got the airspeed here in miles an hour on the outside ring, knots on the inside ring. Takeoff briefing today, we're going to be doing anything below 90 miles an hour. We will reject the takeoff and stay on the runway. At 90 miles an hour, we will rotate and take off, and that'll be our takeoff decision speed. Whatever problem we have, we'll be taking it in the air. So as we do our takeoff, we're going to do kind of a static takeoff, get the power partially run up, double check temperatures and pressures. Single pilot, I don't have somebody else to keep monitoring that for me, so it's my kind of my last chance. Otherwise, it's just going to be by feel and by hearing. I'm going to check the acceleration at 60 miles an hour. I should be right down there by that, right down there by the tanker base at the very latest. Single pilot, cold, cooler day today. It'll probably happen closer to the 1,000-foot marker. And then rotate at 90 if everything's going good. And then lower the nose, accelerate in ground effect, and go get as quick as I can accelerated up to blue line, 110 miles an hour. As soon as we break ground and we got a positive rate, it's critical that we get the gear up. This is a critical phase from 90 to blue line. Any problem in there, you got to handle that situation in a light twin immediately. Get on the rudder if you lose an engine and make sure the gear is up. If the gear ain't up or the flaps are not up, you will not be climbing away from the ground on one engine in this airplane. And so, with that in mind, we're just going to go straight ahead. It's all downhill that direction, down to the valley below, and we'll just plan on doing a single engine landing down there in the valley, either at Lincoln or Marysville, and the weather is good down there today for such an event. Instead of trying to bring it back around and bring it into here for a single engine approach and landing. So that is an option, and we do have the wind favoring the runway, and runway 7 is uphill. So it's an option, but instead of doing all that maneuver, just go straight down to the valley. Get you some more sea level air. Oil temperatures slowly coming up. We'll get the doors and windows after the run up here. And one thing I want to do too is check my generator. So let's go one engine at a time. Here's the amp meter down here, kind of Model T technology. Okay, so there is the number 2 generator is up and online. Now, as you come down to 1,000 RPM, see you don't have alternators, so you're discharging the system. Here's the number 1 generator coming online with the number 1 engine. There it is, boom. See, it takes a good 1,700 RPM or so. Let's bring them both up. Oil pressure or oil temperature's coming up. Oh, listen to that. Let me turn that squelch down so you can hear it. Okay, left mag, left engine. About a 50 RPM drop, that's good. Right mag, left engine. Looking at the tachometer right here. 50 RPM drop. Now we're going to the right engine, left mag. 50 to 75 RPM. Right engine, right mag. Looks good. Now we're going to check the props. Left engine first, oil temperature is good for this exercise. Right back to feather. Cycle the oil through the dome of the prop. Close this window now. A little less noisy. Right engine, right prop. The only prop on the right engine. When you do that, you should see the oil pressure dip along with the RPM. You can check your, I call this carb heat in one video, and that's incorrect. It's induction, alternate induction air, because this is a fuel injected system. So you can check your alternate air. That's these 2 pull handles down here. Because it's a fuel injected engine, there's not a carburetor, so it's not carburetor heat. It's alternate air, which provides warm air into the induction system to prevent ice from building up or to melt ice that has built up. All right, temperatures and pressures are looking good. Let's bring her back down. And let's get this door. Always have the pilot do the door. And he can still dick it up. If this door pops open, it'll scare the hell out of you, but it's not a big deal. It'll just pop open, make a lot of noise, and just crack open about that much. You might feel a little bit of squirreliness in the airplane, but just keep flying the airplane. All right. Before takeoff checklist, park and brake is set. We did the engine run-up. We checked the vacuum gauges and the sources. We checked the props, the mags, the generator. Aux fuel pumps, again, we're checking in low. Flight controls, we've checked again for free and clear and proper direction. Trim tabs are set for takeoff. Elevator trim's right there. Nose rudder trim is right there. Aileron trim down there. Alternator controls are in. Cabin doors and windows are closed and locked. Flight instruments 3150. A good heading 020 degrees. Correction 040 degrees. Get my clock wound up. Radio's got 2272 for Unicom. Transponder 1200. Squawking altitude. Turn needle check, DG set, check takeoff time. All right, so takeoff briefing is complete. Check the traffic pattern. Nevada County traffic, Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, depart runway 25 via right crosswind departure to the north. Okay, mixtures are going rich. Fuel is on the main tanks. The main tanks are full. Final is clear. Mags are on. Aux fuel boost pumps are on low. Master and mags are on. Slight tailwind.
Approaching runway 25.
Thank you for flight.
Entered runway 25.
Okay, that's enough from you. It gives you the feet remaining. That's interesting. Okay, time check 10:46. Bring the engines up for a partial run up to about 2,000 RPM. Manifold pressure checks, temperatures and pressures look good. Briskly bring the throttles up so you're not wasting any runway. Airspeed's alive, 60 knots right there at the 1,000-foot marker. 80. And 90. Rotate. Positive rate. Gear up. Accelerate ground effect. Blue line. We'll continue accelerating for 120 all the way up to 140 for easy for you to say, cruise climb speed. Temperatures and pressures checking good. Now she's starting to perform. Gear is up. Okay, we'll leave the power right up there, and we're going to bring the props back to the top of the green. Clearing right, checking right. Let's go up over the mountains. That's what 310s do best. There's top of the green. Get them synced up. Like tuning a guitar. Just listen for it. Okay, now I'm going to fix that squelch. Hello, how's that? Nevada County traffic, Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, depart in the traffic pattern to the east. Let's go head up over Yuba Pass. Might be a little windy over the mountains today, a little bumpy. Temperatures and pressures are checking good. Climb checklist, aux boost pumps coming off. Gear and flaps are up. Props are set. Now we can start adjusting the mixture, climbing through 5,500 feet. We'll watch our fuel pressure gauge. It's not a fuel flow gauge, but a fuel pressure. And I'm watching the dog bones over here for my EGT. Look at that, man. 1,200 feet, 1,500 feet per minute. Go, Harvey, go. Look at that. We got a lifty right there. It's going to get bumpy. Man, oh man. Twin engine performance. Remember, when you lose one engine on one of these airplanes, you lose well more than half of your performance. There are no cowl flaps on this design. That's what the thrust augmenters are for. So at high power settings and low speeds, it's drawn all the air it needs through the augmenters to keep the cylinder head temperatures nice and cool. You see that roll off there? With the tip tanks in the 310, it's got some neutral lateral stability. It'll roll right off and just kind of keep on rolling because of the weight of the fuel in those tip tanks, being the twin engine design that it is. The other modes, especially pitch mode, are all very, very stable. So in other words, you got to constantly fly the airplane if you do not have an autopilot or a second pilot. Okay, we keep fiddling with the mixtures here as we climb. Yuba Pass is in sight. East is least, even's better nod, heading for 9.5. Bringing these EGTs right up to the dog bone. So I've got these dog bones set to about 150 degrees rich of peak. So all I got to do now is lean the mixture up until the EGT is in the dog bones. And you do got to periodically double check that. Another thing on your initial climb out is take a look around outside, making sure fuel ain't flying out of a tank that you left the fuel cap off of. No other hatches or doors are open. 9 for 9.5. What are we getting for ground speed here, boys? Only 140 knots, so a bit of a headwind here, climbing out. 9.5. Leave the power there for now at 21 inches. Bring the RPM back to about 2,300 RPM. The whole idea is to put some time on the 310, and these things are so fast. You got to pick a destination about a good 200 miles away. We're staying well into the green arc here in the bumpy conditions over the mountains. I want to go head over Dead Cow Playa. We're going to take a rip down the down the Black Rock Desert. Let's go see if we can get all the way out to Winnemucca, Nevada, if the conditions are not too bumpy out there today. Once you get these 310s up and running, you want to let them run for at least an hour. So we're crossing right along. We're kind of following right along the historic Hennis Pass route. Is on this ridge right here. And you can turn off that Hennis Pass route and drop into the Sierra Valley at Sierraville, or you can take it all the way over to Bird Eye, just west of Reno, Nevada. That was the historic route to get to the Comstock mines, and included the cover bridge back there at Bridgeport, back there near Grass Valley. Okay, now let's redo our mixtures. Now, reset that power. See, the fuel pressure is way down there now. get your 10 or 11 gallons per hour per side. Figure 22 gallons per hour. All the snow that we got in December is rapidly disappearing up here in the Sierras. This is not good. This weather pattern we've had over a month without a drop of rain. We had that good December and then nothing for January. So far, nothing for February, with nothing in the 10-day forecast for any kind of precipitation. Not good. Kind of fly the airplane with the elevator trim here. Boy, that's just too pretty. 15 minutes in the trip and we're already crossing over the high Sierra. Temperatures and pressures looking bueno. EGT's looking good. As we head up here to Bodad, I'll give you a little oxygen demonstration. So you can plug it into the pilot's port, get a little additional oxygen than everybody else. That port's right there next to the camera.
Squawk VFR and frequency change approved. Good day, 3 Mike Echo.
Get your cannula on like that. And let's crank up the altitude. Take it up to 10,000 feet. And we got good flow through the cannula. And you can just barely get a sense of the oxygen. Just a steady flow of oxygen coming up through the cannula. And look at this as we approach Bodad and Frenchman Lake.
November 1, Julia Bravo.
The devastation from the Dixie Fire and the Beckworth Complex. This is the Beckworth Complex over here from just last year. This entire area in front of us all burned up all the way out to the desert. The Beckworth Complex being separate from the million-acre Dixie Fire Complex just over there. Amity Army Airfield coming up off our nose where we practice
7,400.
relentless assault landings in the old C-130.
Clear visual approach runway 16.
Be a good idea to keep a lookout for those guys, Reno National Guard boys. Usually they're busier on the weekends. Come on down from 9,500 feet. Bring her back to about 18 inches. Dead Cow Playa, which is now Dead Cow Lake, right there. Coming out of 9,500, we'll turn off the O2. Save that. Get this thing out of my nose. Sky King touring the Great Nevada Desert in search of crime and high adventure. Pyramid Lake right there. Look at that. Beautiful. And the pyramid of Pyramid Lake right down there. Let's hang a left and hit the Smoke Creek Desert. Cruising down the Smoke Creek Desert, which is pretty wet over here on the left. These are the famous railroad tracks cuts through here and the Black Rock. So the Smoke Creek's going to wrap around and end up at Gerlach at the base of that mountain up there, and then it's going to open up again into the huge Smoke Creek Desert and continue on to the north and east. East-northeast. This was the last, one of the second to last giant hurdles that the pioneers coming west for the gold rush had to survive. And I don't know if they were over-exaggerated accounts, but some of the pioneers were saying you could walk across this desert and never touch the ground, just stepping on all the dead oxen and cattle that were out here. What a stinking huge mess it must have been. Lack of water, exposure to the sun, no cover. Okay, looking for the runway here at Winnemucca at pattern altitude. Powers back to 16 inches or so. We're below 160 miles an hour. Want to set up for the 45 for 3-2. Winds are 050 at 8. Crosswind from the right. But the first trick is to find exactly the runway. I see the hangars. Winnemucca traffic, Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, 4 mile 4532 Winnemucca. Okay, runway's in sight. Let's make sure we get the correct runway in sight. So we're gonna get configured, go for blue line, and then look for 100 miles an hour, between 90 and 100 over the fence. Okay, below 160, below 140, flaps going to 15, insta flaps, hang on. Boom, that's it. Gotta immediately come in with the forward pressure. Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, turn in left downwind 32 Winnemucca. Okay, gear speed checks, gear coming down. Power back up to about 18 or so. Blue line checks, gear down checks. So if you did everything on your instrument approach at 18 inches, you wouldn't even have to move the power. Gas on the mains, undercarriage is down, mixtures, props will leave for now. We're going to make this a 15 flap landing. Gear is down. About an hour and 20 minutes total. Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, left base 32 full stop, Winnemucca. Trim, trim, trim. Slowing to 100. Fair amount of sync, pretty good there. A little slow on final on that one. Gear is down. Little right crosswind. Little long on the landing. Get that nose gear off to keep it from shimmying. We got to roll way on up here. When you put the props in, you take the the pull right out of the engine. You slowed right down at that lower power setting. Boost pumps, low boost pumps are off. Check the brakes and look for transit parking. These are flaps. Flaps are coming up. All right, temperature, pressure's looking good. Radio's coming off.
All this other stuff off. Headsets. iPads and GoPros. Take a quick look around, look for leaks. Looking good. Nice. Airport cars here at Winnemucca. The griddle here in Winnemucca is a must-stop place anytime you're doing these long cross countries, especially driving back and forth across Interstate 80 or up to Boise. During the summertime, you can sit outside here. Just like the sign says, good cooking. They're not kidding. take some home. So on the way home, I hopped right up to 10,500 feet, got a nice tailwind, made it home in about 1 hour, managed the VFR descent over the High Sierra at a rate of about 5 to 1, so I keep the manifold pressure up on the engines to about 17 to 18 inches. And then, for example, if you have 5,000 feet to lose, 5 times 5 is 25 miles, add 5 more miles for your straight and level slowdown, makes 30 miles out, you should start your descent. And using that 5 to 1 rule, manage your descent all the way down, keeping the manifold pressure on the engines up and the airspeed out of the yellow arc. So thanks for joining me on this long, detailed review of what it's like to fly Harvey, the 1959 Cessna 310, C Model 310. As you can see, it takes a lot of time, care, and respect to safely operate this vintage equipment. And that's something I'm seeing less and less of frequently here on social media and YouTube. So if you like this kind of long format content, hit like and subscribe, and you can join the other 3,500 patrons over on Patreon that also help support this channel and help keep this little bucket list dream of mine to be able to be the caretaker and manager of Harvey in the manner that she has become accustomed to over the last 40 years of the previous owner's ownership of Harvey. Thanks so much for your support. See you here.